Hi everyone, I'm finally up to 1,000 followers. Thank you. I hope that you can learn more and that you can add to the group. I'm always welcoming new things, new experiences. I actually was not diagnosed until I was an adult. I've always had stomach issues, diarrhea, constipation, nausea, vomiting. Had tests done as a child in the 80s, early 80s. I've always been on medication. I've been on every single GERD medication that anybody can be on. I don't know if anybody remembers Drypan and Melanta. My mom, she had a hiatal hernia, and so she always had it, and I would take the ball and just take a big old drink out of it. I was also diagnosed with a hiatal hernia, and you can have surgery for it, but you're gonna have your breastbone cracked open just to have that, and hernias come back. So that was just a hernia. This was for a needless surgery that I didn't have. As I grew up, all through high school, I was having tests done. I'm the queen of upper GIs. Again, they just kind of threw me off with IBS. I was still never had the right diagnosis. 2009, well, even before that though, I would call off sick to work, call off sick to school, have my mom come pick me up from school. But as I got older, you know, a normal person doesn't have the stomach flu for a week or 2 weeks. I remember it was, what was it? It was one of the holidays. I live in Louisville, Kentucky, so it was either one of the holidays or it was, I'm thinking it was Churchill Downs Derby here, and that's a big deal. And some places give you off as a holiday, and so I called in, and they wanted me to come to work and let the charge nurse look at you. Well, I went to the ER, and the doctor said, "You're not going to work." I lived about 30 minutes from where I worked, and he called and told him I wasn't coming in to work, and I was severely dehydrated and needed medication, and I mean, I countless and countless of ER visits. And so finally in 2009, I just started dropping weight really quickly. I couldn't hold anything down. So I see my regular doctor. She sent me to another doctor who ended up sending me to a surgeon, and they did tests on me. Well, I didn't know, because I also did a HIDA scan on me for my gallbladder, trying to find out what's wrong with me. Well, at the time, I was not told what my diagnosis was. I ended up being sick again in April of 2011, which landed me just crawling around in the house until my then boyfriend was called to come back home and take me to the hospital. And they did workups on me, and finally after 4 days I was sent back home. And then I ended up with a fistula, which they didn't know at the time what it was. It just all of a sudden just happened. And I was actually at the doctor after being at the hospital when the symptoms came on. And so I went to my GI, who turned around and sent me to a surgeon. Then my surgeon ran tests and everything, and the tests that he did, there's 2 different types of tests. I don't know what the name of the one is that he did, because all the blood work goes to California. But then the second test that was done on me by my GI is called the Prometheus. Well, I've hit every single marker for both of those tests. And so I had my very first surgery in September of 2011. And everything kind of went really downhill really fast. They didn't know what to do for me. I kept on having bowel obstruction after bowel obstruction. They finally ended up having to put me on a TPN, and I dropped down to like 65 pounds. And I remember sitting up on the side of the bed because I didn't have the energy to go in the bathroom and take a shower. But I had aides and nurses that would come in there and help me. And I remember sitting up on the side of the bed, and I was always small anyway. And I looked down at myself and I just cried. But I can just remember just being really, really grim and thinking, you have all this time on your hands and all you can do is just think. And at the time, my doctor didn't know what to do. He said he was praying for me. He had me on the prayer list at church. I mean, my surgeon is a very, he is a very Christian man. Family man, a Christian man. He's my age. And we didn't know if I was going to come out of there and go home, or if I was going to come out there and be buried. So I was finally able, after a month, things turned around. I went home. I went home in October. Then we got through Thanksgiving, and then I think in like the middle of December, second week of December maybe, I was readmitted into the hospital. Called the ambulance, and they came and picked me up. I was readmitted with another bowel obstruction, and I was in there for 2 weeks. Then I came back out. I had some personal issues, and when I came out, I weighed just under 95 pounds. So I was seeing my doctor. You know, I was still having surgeries on the fistula, because the fistula surgery never took. I had a lot of scar tissue. And so then I had another surgery and went back to work. I ended up having to take a medical termination. They didn't terminate me. I did a medical termination. And it allowed me to get my short-term disability restarted. And then once I had my short-term disability restarted, then I took my medical termination, and then my long-term disability that I was going through the company that I worked for kicked in after what I had paid for the short-term disability. Then it kicked in, and so I was still having surgeries. Then in it was 2013, I tried to work again, and my body just, it wouldn't let me do it. I got an ileostomy in 2011, and having an ileostomy, it gives you some barriers. It's definitely, you have to have a job where you're not going to be up running around, where you're not going to be sweating, and where you can keep yourself hydrated. And my job I wasn't able to keep something to drink on me. You know, healthcare field, unless you're going to be sitting at a desk, it's not where you're putting yourself in harm's way with other, with MRSA, TB, with all these other germs, and, really, I was already sick, and when I went back to work, I stayed sick, and I remember I went into work, and the nursing home was on lockdown. They sent me home with pay because they were putting me at risk. So anyway, I tried to go back to work, and I did that for 3 months, and I called in more than I worked. If they asked me to work over, I worked over, but the next day don't have me scheduled because I'm not going to be able to do it. So, I kept my Cobra, and I had another surgery. I think I did that one in March. Another one on the fistula, which never healed. I've done everything for the fistula, from plugs to the flaps to everything. I don't have any skin there. It's all scar tissue, and scar tissue doesn't heal. And then I had to have another big surgery in July, so I had that one. And let's see what happened. I don't remember what happened in 2013, but I had to have a big surgery. Oh, I had to have an emergency surgery. It was for another bowel obstruction, and it was in the tract of my ileostomy, and my ileostomy had to be taken down and redone. And I was there that time. I can't remember if I was there for a couple of weeks or a month, but then I ended back up. I was in the hospital October, then I went back November, December, and then January, and then I was there every 3 months. And then in October of 2014, I had surgery again, and this time, because I've been having surgeries all throughout the year. And this time, I had told my doctor, they had me on Humira, and I told him, I said, no, there's something not right. Just do surgery and just look. Well, whenever they did the sigmoidoscopy, this is where they use a smaller tube, not the colonoscopy, but they use a smaller tube called sigmoidoscopy. They went in and found out that I was a whole lot worse off than what they thought. I was extremely swollen, but they finally got that through. And I told them, I said, just go in. So they went in and found out there was some cancer. There was a lot of bleeding, a lot of disease, and I ended up at this time with no more large intestines. You know, large intestines is the colon. I lost the entire colon. I lost my rectum. I lost my anus, and they went ahead and took out my appendix. And I was given what everybody calls the Barbie butt. It's where they sew you up. Well, they gave me a drainage tube. And when I went home, it wasn't draining. So when I went back to the hospital, because my daughter was here, and I went to the bathroom, and I came back in, and I looked at her, and I said, something doesn't feel right. And so we went to the hospital, and I had a blood infection, and it was caused by the blood sitting in my abdomen. And the best way the only way I can describe it is the way my surgeon described it. It's like the back of your toilet. It retains water, and there's nothing in there but what little is in there, and then the water. And because I didn't have a large intestines anymore, I've got small intestines. So all the blood is puddling right there. So when I went back, they gave me more antibiotics IV, and I went in for, oh my God, another drainage tube. And this one was in my backside. And they didn't numb me up good enough, and I wasn't knocked out at all. They were working on it, but I wasn't knocked out. You know, us with Crohn's disease, it takes a lot of drugs to knock us out and to numb us up. And I could feel everything. And finally, I was screaming. Next thing I know is, I don't think that it was the drugs that knocked me out. I think it was the pain that ultimately knocked me out. So then I'm there, and I think it wasn't the same day. I don't think it was the same visit. It might have been. But they said that, oh yeah, it was the same visit, because I was having problems, and I was having big, huge blood clots escaping out my backside. It had tore my stitches. So I had to go back for another one. And I cried. I didn't want to do it. I cried. I boo-hooed. I threw a fit. But this time, he told the nurse, well, she tolerated this, this, and this. And that nurse, she knocked me plumb out. Finally, and I said, I feel something. He said, you feel it? He did something, and they knocked me out. I didn't feel anything after that. Woke up in my room. So, then, I was back in December, and I was sent from home. I had home health for 2 years straight. I had wounds that from surgery that didn't heal. Then I had where I had the stone, where I had the ileostomy brought down, and all that. And then whenever this last time in December, I told my nurse, I said, I've been having chest pain. And so she listened to me. She said, there's 1 or 2 things wrong with you. I said, you want to go to the hospital? I'm like, nah. Let's go. So she called me an ambulance. I went, and I had a pulmonary embolism. And this isn't the first blood clot that I've ever had. It's my second one. The first one I had was a DVT, and it was behind my left knee. And I've been on blood thinners ever since. They took me off Coumadin because they couldn't keep me normal with Coumadin. And I've been on Xarelto. So, make things short, I've been back and forth in the hospital, this time with gastroparesis. And gastroparesis is your stomach is basically just paralyzed. It doesn't work. It doesn't want to work. It doesn't do anything. My stomach holds food 86-87% of the time. And so I have been approved for the gastric stimulator. And it's a pacemaker, much like for your heart, except it is for your stomach. And that is what I'm having surgery on the 17th of this month. I've already had the temporary one, and there's videos up of that, because those are the last videos that I did. And I'm nervous. I am. I had to be cleared by the hematologist before my surgeon would do it. But I'm high risk. So, anyway, that brings you up to date. Please make comments, share your story, and thank you for following, and maybe we can all learn from each other. I appreciate it. Happy 4th of July. Good night.